back to rumors about Disney
Uh-huh.
Plus shows. This is more like the rumor of a concept of a Disney Plus show
Yeah.
and the rumor of a possible director attached to it. So we're not spoiling anything about these shows other than the fact that they may exist, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, but if
But if
I've
you don't want to know about shows that may exist,
just sign off.
yeah,
It's totally fair.
get the hell
Um
out of here.
yeah, see ya.
Yeah.
Uh cool. All right. Well, why don't you tell us about this one?
Okay. So here's the deal. Apparently, the rumor has been going around for a couple weeks at least about this show. I had missed that, so I didn't know about this rumored show. But apparently, there's a show that's rumored to be in development for Disney Plus. Apparently, it's rumored to be produced by John Favreau. Although I find that, I mean, I guess that's like 50-50. You know, why wouldn't he be involved in a new show? Like he certainly could be because he's had a lot of success in the other ones. But also, if we're cooking up, not cooking up stories, if stories are being embellished along the way as like they get passed from one person to the next, not misleading intentionally, but like you know how the game of telephone works, right? Like things get added, things get obscured, whatever. That
Mhm.
seems like the kind of thing that like people could easily assume or get wrong, that Favreau's producing it. But anyway, apparently this show is going to be set or could be set during the High Republic era, which is interesting in its own right and exciting. Apparently, this show is being talked about as, and I would take this with a giant grain of salt and as a sort of generalization very much, but Stranger Things in space, because, and this is coming from the article on Star Wars Newsnet by Fran Ruiz. But anyway, thought I should put that out there. We should give credit to the site and the source, but
Mhm.
also that phrasing is probably from that author. So, Stranger Things in space,
It's
in the High
actually from
Republic.
discussing film
Oh,
is
it
is
is.
where that comes from. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my bad. My bad. But anyway, Stranger Things in space. Not because it's got Star Wars demigorgons, presumably, but because it is like a cast of preteen actors. And I guess the other big kind of piece of information that's rumored here is that John Watts, the director of um, the most recent Spider-Man movies, may be directing an episode or episodes of the show. Um, so yeah, quite a rumor there, but
Mhm.
basically there could be a new Star Wars show we don't know about. It could be about a or focused on a cast of young characters, and John Watts could be directing an episode or more.
Yeah. Okay, I just played the Link game.
To
And
trace it back to the original
I
source.
traced it back to Cinelinks.
Oh,
Um in the original article that so Star Wars Newsnet posted the discussing film article, who posted about the Cinelinks article, and the
hmm.
Cinelinks article is written by Jordan Mason,
Oh,
who
okay. Uh huh.
is someone who's like around in Star Wars
Yep.
journalism. Seems to be a fairly reputable source. I haven't heard, anything otherwise about his work. But as always, things change. Um, but yeah, it's multiple sources. Um, he heard Stranger Things in space almost verbatim from two different sources months apart from each other. Uh,
Maybe Drengir, huh? Maybe Drengir and a young cast of characters.
yeah, I think I I'm guessing the Stranger Things part of it is just like like hey, these are like preteens kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it has any like story. um I don't I think that's probably where the connection to Stranger Things ends, is like hey, this is, you know, kids. I
What?
mean, personally, I would say like Stand By Me in space if I was one of the sources, but
Well, you say that, yeah, yeah, because I was gonna say, like, on the one hand, it's like, oh, it's pretty, I don't know, like, Stranger Things is this big hit for Netflix, right? And it would be kind of funny if Lucasfilm was like, oh, we should do one of those, you know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
did a Star Wars show that was similar to Stranger Things in numerous ways. On the other hand, Stranger Things itself, and this is something one of the things I think that turned you off about Stranger Things, Ryan. I love it, and we're talking about rewatching it again here in anticipation of the new season. And I've watched like I think I've watched the first season like 5 times now, probably. We rewatch
Mm.
it all the time, and the other seasons multiple times as well. But anyway, long story short, it's riffing on like ET and movies, Gremlins, and things that like Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy and Steven Spielberg were involved in from that era too. So it's like on the one hand, oh well, it's kind of like desperate or embarrassing to like be like, oh, Netflix had a huge hit with Stranger Things. Let's put a layer of Star Wars on that and call it a show. You know what I mean? It
Hmm.
seems a little like um, gross. But then on the other hand, it's like, well, not necessarily, because like Kathleen Kennedy, the producer, the executive producer, or what, the CEO of Lucasfilm, um, like her career is founded on Stranger Things esque stories in a lot of ways,
Right.
So maybe there is, and again, it could just be the young cast of characters, but there was a level of, if not, you know, like horror, there was a level of mystery or something supernatural, or there's usually a layer like that to these stories as well. Which
Yeah.
maybe you could say, well, that's inherently part of Star Wars, anyways. You've got the Force, so that's their version of it. But I could see it being maybe a little more like Stranger Things, not just like, oh, it's a young cast, but could it be like a young cast of characters out on some adventure that they probably aren't supposed to be doing and they're sneaking out to do, or like there's some supernatural element to it, sort of like Stranger. I could see maybe a little more Stranger Things in it than just the young cast, potentially. I don't know. I like the idea.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it could be like kids solving a mystery, um, kind of thing.
Scooby
It,
Doo.
yeah, or I mean, the all those sources, um, you know, the original sources that you named, um,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think could inspire it, for sure. The same things that inspired, what was that other like 80s Spielberg ripoff that he produced, that JJ was involved in?
Super 8.
Super 8, yeah. Like it could be, that kind of that sort of thing on like a starship or something as well. Sorry, you're shaking your head. That movie's not good, man. I'm sorry.
Well, I liked it when I watched it. Maybe I have to go back and watch it again and see.
I don't know.
I'm
I
a
don't.
JJ guy. I'm a JJ guy. He made Felicity, and he has not led me astray since. So, granted, I haven't watched all of his stuff since, but he hasn't led me astray since creating Felicity and the Ben and Noel, triangle, love triangle, and
Mhm.
so many things I love about the show Felicity. Ryan, he co-wrote the theme song for Felicity, which is an absolute tune. So yeah, I got to shake my head at least a little bit at the questioning of J.J. Abrams's reputation, um, and his creative output. But that being said, it's been so long since I've seen Super 8 that I don't remember if it's good or not. I just remember I think I liked it when I watched it, but I couldn't actually, passionately argue that it's good because it's been too long and I don't remember that well.
Yeah, yeah. We don't need to get into that, but I don't think like the things that I dislike about Super 8 and Stranger Things, I don't think will be part of this show. um because I don't think it will have like that just ultra nostalgia, like in your face nostalgia thing happening, which is like what really kind of puts me off on like all that stuff. And yeah, I think Yeah, it's not like a deal breaker at all for me here. Um,
All right, hear me out.
okay.
Watch watch all of season 1 and all of season 2 of Stranger Things so that you can get to like season 3 when Mad Max's brother is like barreling down the road in his like Z28 or Firebird, I can't remember which one, like blasting Kill 'Em All, and see if that nostalgia strikes you a little better.
uh, you know, I'll just listen to Kill 'Em All. Um, you know, honestly. You know what's funny though? You're talking about Felicity, which is a pretty good TV show. You know, I didn't watch all of it, but you know, I liked the episodes I saw. Um, you know who else is involved in Felicity?
Who's that?
Uh, the the you know who the co-creator of Felicity is? Do you know?
Matt Reeves? Matt Reeves?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Who's directing the Batman in like a few days? I mean, I guess he already did it, but we get to see it in a few days. So,
I'm going
um,
Friday night.
nice. That's a
Yes.
good call.
Sorry, my son just got home. He was on a trip snowboarding for the last 3 days with his friends, so I was
Oh,
excited to like say hello to him. Yeah. So,
cool, cool. Yeah.
but now he's back. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to see Batman on Friday night. I can't wait.
Sweet, sweet. So yeah, lot of Felicity connections, and in life, everything just goes back to Felicity.
Well,
Um,
I'll tell you, Ryan, it had a great cast, and there are so many actors who you'll be like, oh, remember when they were in Felicity? You know, like now when I
yeah,
see John Ritter show up in something, I'm like, oh, remember he's from Felicity. You know,
yeah.
that's where I know John Ritter from. And yeah. Anyway, okay, we can stop. But
We Yeah, this got weird, but we should also mention the John Watts part of this.
uh-huh.
Um, which this is the part that makes me go, "Yep, this is exactly a Lucasfilm move. This is such a Lucasfilm move
Oh yeah.
to be like,
Uh-huh.
okay, what's the hottest film of last summer or last winter, last season? Okay, how do we get that person to make us a Star Wars thing? Like how do we do that?" And I think, you know, Spider-Man No Way Home, the biggest thing in the world for a month and a half, basically. And so it totally makes sense to me that they would be like, hey, can you come do a genre thing with teens for us? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, although I mean this story just basically rumors him to be coming in to do an episode. So, it's not like they'll be like, "Hey, you come in and develop this show." Although we do know that like the person who directs a pilot sometimes if he's doing the pilot episode, I think that person maybe sometimes has a little extra influence over the direction of the show and kind of sets the tone right for the other
mhm.
directors and things like that. So, there could be some a little bit extra there, but yeah, so I don't know, but it's a little different than in the past when they've signed uh someone to come in and write and direct a movie for them when that person's a big name, because there's a lot of ways that can go wrong, but you know just having somebody come in to do an episode of a show is not necessarily such a high stakes thing, you know what I mean? um and it's like, well, why not? And also, like those movies feature a young cast, right? The Spider-Man movies feature a young cast, and I don't know who to give credit to, but I'm looking at this Star Wars Newsnet article, and it points out that a movie he made called Cop Car is what got him the gig doing the Spider-Man movies, and that movie apparently featured a young cast, and his ability to work with that young cast or get the most out of that young cast may be part of how he got Spider-Man. So if that's all true, then it seems pretty logical, right?
Yeah, yeah. He also did work on the Onions like TV and like web series.
Mm,
Um, he was involved in that, which I think you can see some of the like. There's a little bit of, especially in the first movie, I felt like there's like a lot of very like Onion esque humor in it,
mm.
in like subtle ways. So I could see this, you know, being, if they were wanting to do something a little more lighthearted fun kind of thing. Probably not going to be like a huge body count or anything in a show about like preteens. Um, so yeah, he seems like a logical pick, and like, you know, that's one of those names that would get people talking um about a Star Wars thing.
Yeah.
So
Turns out his movie Cop Car, I'll have to check this out. His movie Cop Car stars Kevin Bacon, but also Shea Wiggum, who I know from the David Gordon Green universe. David Gordon Green, he's in his movie All the Real Girls, which I
okay.
love, and then he's also uh, he was in Vice Principals, which on HBO, which is fantastic. So anyway, big fan of his, Shea Wiggum.
Huh.
He's the guy, Ryan. I don't know if you've ever heard us talk about sucking down this master cylinder, if you've ever heard us make that reference or not, but he's the one who says that in All the Real Girls. So
I've only seen that
great
movie
guy.
once. So
Mm.
I kind of want to see this Cop Car movie though. I'm looking at the IMDb page.
I'm more concerned about if like I've only seen that movie once is a that movie. I have the same attitude towards that movie as I have towards Super 8 kind of comment, or if you're literally just saying like I've only seen it one time.
Look,
But
I've only seen Super 8 once. We'll leave it at that. No, no,
uh,
I liked All the Real Girls.
okay, good,
Not
good.
you're just like a super fan of that
Yeah,
movie.
yeah, yeah,
you're
yeah.
yeah. So,
No
um,
Blu-ray release. It's outrageous.
wow.
Um, let alone 4K. All right. Any other thoughts on this show, Ryan, before we bring it home?
No, I think I don't know. I know like the High Republic part of it is being floated around, and that kind of makes sense with, we've talked about like why are there these like young adult High Republic books, like are like middle grade young adult High Republic books where it seems like the only people who are reading them are adults, kind of thing. uh I mean, so I don't know how this would tie into that whole thing, if they're really just like, we got to get preteens watching into Star Wars, or if it's just like, no, we're just going to make this for adults and it's just like starring preteens. Like,
Mm.
I don't I don't know.
Yeah, I think you always are hoping to attract a younger audience when you center a show around younger characters, or almost
Yeah,
always. You know what I mean?
that's
I think
how I've
that's
always thought about it. That's why I'm like
yeah.
always perplexed by the High Republic stuff.
But I think Stranger Things is a great example of a show that targets both an adult audience and a young audience,
It's
because
true.
my son who's 12 loves Stranger Things, and my cousin who's 18, she loves Stranger Things, and she got super
Hmm.
into it when she was like 14 or whatever, right? But like
Yeah.
my son got into it when he was, what, 9 or 10 or something. Um, and anyway, like they weren't popping for the nostalgia stuff, right? It wasn't like they were like, "Oh, that's a reference to this movie from my past." Like, that's not what
Yeah.
got them hooked on it.
Yeah.
Um, which I would argue, Ryan, is evidence that the core story and characters there is really compelling and interesting, and now all that nostalgia stuff is just an extra layer. It might be an annoying extra layer, but there's some real. But anyway, point is, like, you
I
can
can't
target
hang
both at the
with it.
same
I
time.
can't
You
can't get
okay?
past that layer. I can't
Okay.
penetrate that layer.
All right, fine, fine, fine. But you can target both audiences, is what I'm
Right.
saying, though. You know what I mean? Because I
Yeah.
think that show really does speak to kids and younger people,
It
and
does.
obviously the
Yeah.
nostalgia stuff does speak to an older audience and other components of it too, I think. But yeah, it really works for adults and for teens. And I think Star Wars can and should do that. Actually, it absolutely should do that. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the focus has been on the like 45-year-old man for Star Wars fan for a little while here. Um with a lot of the stuff that's released in, the past couple of years. Um
You should consult the 45-year-old man though sometime and see what they think about it. Like, 'cause,
Oh, well,
uh,
yeah, and you're
the
never gonna
the
please that 45-year-old man. So,
the
like,
45-year-old man is sure that they are doing everything but targeting them, so,
yeah, totally. And I think
yeah.
that's why that
I
shouldn't
think
be the
yeah,
focus constantly. But I mean, ugh, well, especially when we get into collectibles and toys and stuff.
yeah. But I
That's
mean,
bad.
even I think we're even Mandalorian, like, on the surface, it'd be really easy to be like, "Oh, that show's just about pleasing, 45-year-old dudes who are
Hmm.
obsessed with Boba Fett because of how cool and badass he is." But, like, I don't think that's really what the show and even Book of Boba Fett, there's a lot of 45-year-old dudes who are totally pissed off, including some of my friends who are like, well, I didn't want to watch a show about Boba Fett getting his ass kicked. I didn't want to watch a show
Yeah,
with character development. I wanted to see Boba Fett go out there and be tough.
yeah.
So it's like, I
Poor.
think,
I wanted to see Boba Fett in this show.
yeah, I mean, there's also some unreasonable requests like that. But like, my
Yeah.
point is like, you know, my point is that
Hmm.
uh, it might seem like it's easy to they certainly cater to those fans in various ways. I'm not saying that they don't cater to older Star Wars fans. They do in a lot of ways, but
Hmm.
uh, I also think that consistently um, they consistently tell stories and focus on things that are not just for those people. And basing the Mandalorian about like around Din Djarin protecting Grogu and forming a found family with Grogu. It's like not necessarily like the thing you would do if you were like, I want these 45-year-old dudes to love this show. Like I think Star Wars would be a lot worse if that's really all they cared about.
Yeah, but it's all like it's so hardcore dad vibes though, like that part of it. But I think where Mandalorian had like the
Or
unexpected,
if you're my kids watching the show, it's hardcore kids vibe because they're just
yeah,
like focused on Grogu
that's what
and
I was
I'm
gonna
focused
say.
on
I think,
Din. So
yeah, like Grogu was the difference maker there, and I think Grogu attracted like a younger audience for sure, which we've talked about
yeah,
before. Like pretty much the only Star Wars merchandise you see at stores now is like Grogu stuff for kids. Like you can get Grogu pajamas and Grogu sheets and stuffed Grogus, and there aren't like vintage collection figures on the pegs. Like there's just Grogu stuff for kids. And I mean, you can't buy a Mandalorian toy. You can't buy a Din Djarin toy in a store, but you can buy like tons of Grogu stuff. And I
yeah.
don't know if that was the real intention the whole time, or if that was like a happy accident, or what happened there. But um, yeah, but I would say the show initially felt targeted at people our age,
Yeah.
like who when they went on there and they talked about like all the different like westerns that inspired it in samurai films, and like we started eventually deducing like lone wolf and cub influences, and like you've got Werner Herzog in there and stuff. Like it was kind of like, I mean, it was very targeted at people like us. And I think this project is different, where it sounds like it's going to be initially targeted at younger people, maybe,
If it exists.
if it exists.
Yeah, if it exists. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Although I think like, just one more thing on that, the Mandalorian and who it's targeting and all that. It's like I think what you just described there is the difference between like really talented storytellers and filmmakers and like hack storytellers and filmmakers, because it's like, okay, it is John Favreau saying, wow, I loved Return of the Jedi when I was a kid, and I love Western movies from when George Lucas was a kid, and
Hmm.
like all this old stuff, right? But I think you could go out and find a million people who could put together a shitty show based on all the stuff they loved when they were young that's just hollow and just a collection of influences.
Right.
um, I think the rare thing and the admirable or you know um, the thing that demonstrates real talent is when you can take that stuff and say, look, this is what inspired me, but I'm going to make something that inspires a large audience, not just inspires people like me, but inspires a lot of people. And I think most importantly, the most important thing is the story itself and the heart of the story and like what it's really about at its core,
Mhm.
and what you dress it up in, or maybe what the initial influence, was. Like I would imagine a guy like Dave Filoni or John Favreau sits down, and if it's Filoni, he's sketching out his Mandalorian, in the doorway, and all that. Like that's what initially, or John Favreau saying, "I love Return of the Jedi. I want to know what happens 5 years after Return of the Jedi." I feel like for those guys, that would be like what initially excites them, and like it's where it starts. But I feel like the thing that separates them from a million other people who might do that same thing is that it's not where it ends. You know what I mean? It grows to be
Mhm.
something much bigger than that. Yeah, I think so anyway. So